Hi guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Linda and I make videos about life in Canada. If you're not new here and you're like, wow, this is back. Um, Welcome, first of all. But I haven't made a video in a very long time because, hey, let's just say life is life, and today I somehow had the willpower to record a video, so we're just gonna go with that. I'm not gonna say I'm back or this is it. Let's just say today I was able to record a video. I had the energy, the willpower, the excitement to do so, and so I'm doing it. But if you're new here and you don't know me, my name is Linda and I make videos about life in Canada, and I share a bit about my experience and other people's experiences living in Canada, just to help aspiring international students or immigrants in whatever questions they have about being a student or being an international student rather in Canada. So, and specifically Vancouver, because Canada is a very big country, but I mostly share experiences about my life in Vancouver, my life experiences in Vancouver. So with that said, welcome, and if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, like the video, and leave a comment down below. What else do we have to say on YouTube? I've forgotten even how to say the YouTube things, but basically, yeah, I'm back, I think. But anyways, without too much rambling, let's get into the video. So as you can tell by the title of the video, in today's video I will be talking about how to extend your stay in Canada. So this is specifically for people who are already students in Canada, so you're in university or college and you're trying to figure out what your options are once you graduate. And I recently kind of went through that process. Not recently, but it's been like a year since I've graduated, so I thought I'd make a video to just share a bit about my experience and any like tips and advice that I might have for anyone who's going through that process right now. So, also by the way, I'm going to be looking down because I have a notebook that has all the points that I want to try and touch on in the video. So if I'm looking down, I'm just reading the notebook. So once you graduate from a university in Canada, you have two options, or at least I see it as two options. It's either you stay or you leave, you know, and I don't know, you have other things to explore. Maybe you want to go to grad school in a different country, or you want to move back home, you know, whatever the case may be. But this is more for people who want to stay and are just looking at the options. So the first option you have in staying is, wait, actually before I go into that, if you're staying, I'm assuming like you want to stay longer, so you want to extend your stay, because when you get your study permit, it's only valid for how long your program is. So technically you would get your permit for like 3 years, your study permit for 3 years to 4, or you might have to extend it for the last year. But then once that's done, you also need like another permit or something that allows you to stay in the country. So in terms of BC, British Columbia, which is the province that I live in, the overall structure is you go to school. Once you graduate, you get into either grad school or you would go into the workforce. So those are the two options if you stay. is if you went into a grad school program, a post-grad school program, you would then stay longer because you can extend your study permit, and then, you know, depending on how long, maybe like you can let's say for sure you can stay for 2 years, because that's usually how long most post-grad programs are. Then the other option you have is you could stay and join the workforce, and so that's the other option. The other option I just thought of now is you could also start a business. I obviously didn't do that, so I'm not going to talk too much about what that pathway looks like, but I'm going to be sharing about my experience of like getting a work permit and joining the workforce. So those are the two options. Both the grad school option or the joining the workforce pathway, they both lead to the same thing. So if you went into grad school, there are programs or there are specific ways where immigration has made it possible for grad students to then apply for permanent residency in Canada. And permanent residency just means like you can stay in the country for as long as you want, so you don't have to like renew your passport or your visa or like your study permit. So obviously it's a better option, and then you can stay here longer. Once you get your permanent residency or PR, you can then look into applying for Canadian citizenship, I think after 2 years, I believe. So those are the two options you have. It's either you go to grad school or you get a work permit, and then from there both options would lead you into applying for permanent residency, and then from permanent residency you would then apply for Canadian citizenship. So applying for a work permit is easy, but I do think what makes it complicated is there are some rules and regulations around it, and it's something you need to be careful about. So what I will do is I will create a different video that just explains the work permit application and what are like the restrictions and the things to keep in mind if you want to graduate from university and then work, because it's pretty easy to get a work permit, but it's also pretty easy to mess it up. So I will make a separate video. You can comment down below if you want me to, or like add other questions or things that I can like explain in that video. So with that said, so I applied for my work permit after I graduated in 2020. It doesn't take that long to process. I think I got mine, I applied in January and I got it, okay, actually it takes a while, but I think also at the time when I applied it was during COVID, so I got it in, I want to say I got it in July. But the good thing is, even if you've applied for your work permit, you can be under what they call implied status. So depending on the company, you can still apply for jobs even if you don't have your work permit with you, like the physical copy yet. Like even if your work permit application is still being processed, you could still apply. It just depends on the company. Some firms don't really want to because it's a bit of a gamble for them. Like they're not 100% sure that you're gonna get your work permit. But some companies are a bit more flexible because they've worked with other international students in the past, and so for them, you know, they understand how the immigration system works. However, even for you to be able to do that, I think there's specific conditions on the immigration website, which is what I want to do a bit more research on, and then I'll explain it in the next video. So while I was on implied status, I actually was applying for jobs. So between January, which is when I sent in my work permit, and July, I still was applying for jobs. I was still interviewing for jobs. I think I actually got a job. When did I start my first job? I think it was around April or May. I started in May, yeah. And luckily I found a company that was like, yeah, you know, we've heard of the whole implied status thing, and they understood that, you know, it's because of COVID, and like that's why the application process is taking a while, and so they were willing to hire me. They just gave me a condition. They said, as soon as you get your work permit decision, let us know, and if you get your work permit, that's great. and just send us a copy for it. So it really depends on the company. So once I did that, so I started working and I had my work permit. The work permit is valid for 3 years. So in Canada, you're given 3 years to work any job for the next 3 years as an undergraduate student who's graduated. So some of the things that I've noticed is when you're holding a work permit versus like when I had a study permit when I was a student. With the work permit, you have more flexibility in terms of hours. So if you are an international student in Canada, you'll know that as a student you're restricted to only 20 hours of working, which also makes sense because you're on a study permit, which means majority of the time they want you to spend majority of the time studying, so they only limit you to 20 hours per week. Whereas with the work permit, you can work as many hours as you want. There's no restriction on how many hours. Some people work like 3 jobs if that's what you're trying to do, like you're trying to make money, or that's just the only way you can sort of earn a living is if you have 3 jobs. So there's no restriction as to how many hours you can work on the work permit. The second thing is flexibility in terms of jobs. So I don't think there's a lot of restrictions on a study permit in terms of what job you can take. But I do remember, for example, when I was in the co-op program, which is like an internship program for university students in Canada, for you to work in specific jobs, it had to align with whatever you were studying in university. So, for example, if you were studying, I don't know, economics, like I majored in economics, you must like take a job or a co-op program or job that is related to what you're studying, otherwise they don't allow it. So that work permit actually has a restriction on what kind of jobs you're expected to take. And I think at the end your boss also has to like, you know, say the different, like this is what the person did on the job and it's related to this because they were learning this in theory in university, and this is what they have to do. In some of those they're very strict about it. So there's that. But with this work permit, I keep calling it a work permit, I just realized it's called the postgraduate work permit, which is self-explanatory. It's you get it after you've graduated from university, and it's more flexible. It says on the, I wish I had a copy of mine, I forgot to bring it out, but it says you're open to work any job. Of course there's restrictions of like don't do illegal work. I think it lists down what is considered illegal work to do, but overall you should be able to take any job, so it's not restricted. And then last thing is, what's much better with the work permit versus like the student permit is obviously you get paid more money. It's always good to make more money, because obviously if you're a student, most of the jobs you'll have available are minimum wage or slightly above, and again you're restricted to 20 hours per week, so you can't really make more money, right? So whereas with the work permit, obviously they pay slightly more. Generally they pay way more than minimum wage, and you're working full-time, so 40 hours per week, and you know you can work as many jobs. So if you can handle 2 to 3 jobs, you could do that, right? So it's pretty much more flexible than the study permit, which obviously makes sense because on the study permit they expect you to be in Canada and studying, not here to like make money or get a job or contribute to the economy in that way. On the flip side, I would say like some of the things I've struggled with or like challenges is when you're on the work permit, obviously you're working full-time, you have a job, it pays well, that's great. But on the flip side, 9 to 5 is very tiring, or at least it's more tiring than being a university student. I find like when I think of both situations, I feel like when I was a student I had more time, I had time to sleep, to nap, you know, like I wasn't in class every day. I could also create my own schedule, right? So that was nicer. But this is like, it's a 9 to 5, and so really you're only free on weekends, which is just 2 days out of the week, which can, you know, can be a bit like taxing mentally, physically, and so on. The other thing is, in terms of restrictions, is obviously because you're doing a 9 to 5, you're now like full on adult. Some of the I guess challenges for me is like, if you're working, you can't just decide that tomorrow I don't want to go to work. Like, you can feel like you don't want to go to work, but you can't just be like, I'm not going to show up, they'll just deal with it. Like, you can't do that. Instead, you have to request vacation days. You have to, like, I know a lot of companies, they're pretty much flexible. Like, I'm not trying to say like Canadian companies don't have really good benefits, but even with the benefit program, there's like, you know, some will say, yeah, we have flex days, we have mental health days. If you're not feeling well, just call us and let us know, which is nice. But at the same time, it's like, I need to request, like I need to, you know, I forgot the word, but like, yeah, your days, your vacation days accumulate, and then you can like take vacation. You can't just be like, I'm tired and I need to take a break. So adjusting to that was a bit weird for me, because obviously when I was a student, I can just decide I don't want to show up for this lecture, because even if I do show up, it's going to be a waste of time, and I'll just find a way to catch up, you know what I mean? Or yeah, even if you don't show up, like no one really notices, like it's up to you. Whereas it's funny, it's like I'm an adult, but it's a bit stricter than when I was a student. For me, that's what it feels like, at least. And then the other thing is, obviously, as a student, there were so many student benefits that I wish I took advantage of, and I didn't. So if you're watching this and you're a student, like, take advantage of whatever student accounts, student discounts, student benefits, whatever's available that is only for university students. I would say take advantage of it as much as you can, because once you graduate, banks will cancel your student account and they will start charging you like monthly banking fees. Like, there's just so many random expenses that you have to deal with. If it's not that, it's public transit. Like, university students get the campus card, the blue one. I don't have it with me, but if you're not a student, you don't get a discount on using public transit. So there's all these different expenses that I've sort of had to adjust to over the year and a half. And yeah, that's just like the flip side of it. I'm not necessarily like complaining, but it's just something to keep in mind as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've watched up until the end, thank you so much, and please take the time to subscribe, like, and share this video with anyone else that you think might be interested in this kind of conversation. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.